Hi there, this is John Bishop, and I'm here with my good friend, Dr. Nancy Flournoy. So today we will be talking about the amazing benefits and technology really behind the LIfeWave phototherapy patches. So just a little bit about myself. I've been a business owner myself, actually in the classical ballet world for a number of years, ran a ballet company in school. And when I came into contact with this company and these patches, I really had a remarkable experience that really started to change, especially the pain in my back and actually my right knee joint, which had really been bothering me more and more. I'm 63 years old now, and it certainly was getting to the point where I was thinking of surgery maybe, or some other kind of thing. I tried many things like acupuncture and hydrotherapy, chiropractic. Nothing really seemed to work. And as Nancy will explain, there's something that we can all understand about light, but I've never seen it, expressed in this kind of way, in a way that it could be used for therapy and to relieve pain. So with that, I want to let Nancy do her own introduction, because she can really give you an idea where her background is. So Nancy, go ahead.
Thank you, John. I'm going to share my screen here so that so we can get started. I'm Nancy Flournoy. I've got a PhD in biomathematics, and I have spent my career, many decades now, as a designer of the statistical parts of clinical trials. I have a lot of experience in the medical community and in various parts of the medical community, like virology and immunology and bacteriology, etc. I had my own physical challenge and came to LIfeWave, particularly when my husband had a pain experience that had gone on without successful treatment for years, and along came LIfeWave, and it was gone so fast that it was just stunning. And so I have, being a scientist, I have been interested in what these patches do and how they do it. And so that is the direction that I've taken. And today, what I'd like to do, LIfeWave now has, 12 or so patches.
14.
And you'll get a brief introduction to them. And it'll be the individual patches will be sort of introduced in connection with some of the broader themes that the LIfeWave company has used to decide what to do and how to do it. And then over the next 14 weeks, I guess it is, if we have 14 patches, we will talk about each patch individually, about what kind of biological response one might expect and how it's doing what it's doing. And this has been quite an investigation. It's been a lot of fun for me because there's been a lot of changes in biology and what's known since the last time I took a deep dive into it. So I invite, this has been a journey. It's been very exciting to see what has happened in research and knowledge since I was in college, for sure, and even adjacent to the medical community experience that I have been working in. And it's also, it's interesting to see what's been discovered and what's not been discovered and what has to be discovered. And certainly these LIfeWave patches are right on the edge, the cutting edge of research. So I hope you enjoy this talk, and I hope you enjoy the other talks with me as well. So we're going to be talking about what the patches are designed to do, how they do it, and as I say, this is an exploration, and I invite you to join me. So the old model of aging. So we have in the cells are mitochondria. They're the engine producers for the body, and that's where energy is consumed, and little energy packets called ATP are produced, and those are used throughout the body for basically all of our functions. The old model for aging was that, so one sees a decline in the function of these mitochondrial cells as populations age. And traditionally it was thought that aging was sort of, that the decline, the decline in function resulted from the decay and the aging of the mitochondrial, they're little entities. You can see them there. It's almost like little organisms inside your body itself. So this basic concept was refuted. There's a paper in 2009 by Dr. Frank Schallenberger, and he turned it back upside down, and was able to demonstrate by creating some equipment by which to measure energy production in the mitochondria. He was able to demonstrate that the energy decreased first. It wasn't a result of the mitochondria falling apart. The energy production decreased, and then the mitochondria started aging. So LIfeWave's first patch involved energy production, and it was in this context that the CEO of the company, David Schmidt, took on the idea of increasing the energy production inside the body by yourself. So the first patch was the energy patch, and it has this is a transdermal patch. You can see the patch here on the side. There's a tan one that goes on the left side of the body and a white one that goes on the right side of the body, and one is positively charged, one's negatively charged. But these are like little band-aids, and they have crystals on them. And so the light is going to come from your body and be reflected by these crystals back into your body. And what's amazing is that David's science selects certain wavelengths to put back into your body that correspond to the effect that he's trying to produce. So in this case, we're talking about energy production. And one of the things that's really sort of a mark of the success of these patches is when you start seeing Olympic athletes with all the patches on their bodies. And so as we go into the Olympics in China, the Winter Olympics in China, everybody can watch for patches. Maybe everybody be too heavily dressed for the Winter Olympics, but the summer will come. So what is the underlying sort of theory behind this? And it goes back to Hippocrates and the idea that likes cure like. And Hippocrates said, by similar things, a disease is produced, and through the application of like is cured. This is kind of the underlies the notion of the way homeopathics work. And we're talking about light. So what does this mean in the case of, in particular, the energy patch? So the energy patch in particular, the materials in it match the resonant frequencies of the biological components that are involved in the mitochondrial energy production. So on the left-hand side of this screen, you've got a little snippet of what's going on here in the mitochondria, and you have glucose coming in the top and ATP, which is the energy packets coming out the bottom. And the idea is to optimize what's going on between the input and the output. So this is again done by paying attention to the frequencies with which everything is vibrating. Now, before I go on, I want to point out this little piece here where we have NADH, a little arrow going around to NAD+. So H is hydrogen. And what this indicates is the hydrogen gets ripped off. Here it is coming down here into the blue. And you end up with the molecule without the hydrogen atom. Now, I'm not quite sure what's so fascinating about that, but if you go on to LIfeWave's website and you go through their David Schmidt's talks that he gives, he repeatedly talks about this little part of the process and seems to be really quite obsessed with it. So even though I don't have anything about this part of the process in conjunction with the current patches to tell you about, I'm sure we're going to be hearing more about this with future patches or future research. Now, we have this like cures like model for anti-aging, and we have to figure out how light works in with that. So the general theory is that healthy bodies oscillate almost to the point of chaos. You have all these oscillations going on depending on what you're reading, what you're watching, whatever, what you're smelling, based on all the stimuli that are around you. And that your body needs to be virtually chaotic so that it can respond very rapidly. We'll learn in other talks later that some of the measurements, like with respect to heart function and heart health, where you might think you want things to be nice and stable and regular, that it's really a sign of irregularity on some of these measurements that indicates health, not nice regularity. So the idea is that if things become too regular, it's like getting stuck. And when they get stuck, then we get disease. And it's because the body has regulated itself or slowed down enough that it can't respond to what's going on. So with respect to light and the patches, the idea is that when a light frequency is reflected back into the body, and it's very similar to some frequency of what's going on in your body that needs to happen, but that frequency is really weak, that this additional stimulus is going to be enough to kind of shake it into, wake it up, to bring what's stuck back into a stronger state of oscillation and eventually return the individual to health. So that's the big idea. With respect to each of the patches then are designed to do a specific thing, and they then reflect different frequencies. And again, this is a passive, wireless, nanotechnology, and these crystals are non-toxic and organic. So two examples of specific products are from the patches called X39 and X49. And these are the two newest patches. X39 was brand new when I first started using the patches just a few years ago. And X49 is so new that, that it's just going to be really formally released here any minute. For example, X39 has been shown to increase this peptide called GHK-Cu. And X49, the science hasn't been released yet, so I can't tell you that it does increase a peptide, but I can tell you we'll learn that soon. I can tell you it's designed to increase AHK-Cu. So they're designed to do different things, but in the case of these two patches, notice that they both have the Cu here, which stands for copper. So they both have copper in them, and when we'll learn in more detail when we study these patches, what the uses of copper are in the body and how these patches get the copper to where it's going to go and where it's needed. And both of these molecules that get stimulated are kind of like, you have all these atoms that sort of hold the copper in their hands and then travel around the body to deliver it to the reaction that needs copper in order to work. So they're kind of sweet that way. X39 was in fact the world's first product to activate stem cells. No injections needed, no pills, no whatever. Tells your body to produce this peptide that tells your body to make stem cells. In the X49, the goal there is to activate fibroblasts and endothelial cell growth. And so we'll learn more about that when we study X49. So how does light make things happen in the body? I mean, you've got the light, you got the patch and it reflects the light. And then what happens? I mean, it's a long way from the patch on the skin to maybe inside the mitochondrial cell or inside something else that's being targeted. So these crystals can hold and discharge energy. And these little pictures, I think, help. So on the bottom here, we have, look of it like a battery, but you have plus minus charges at the top and plus minus at the bottom. Everything equals, all the positive and negative charges equal each other out. And the net is nothing. I mean, you have nothing happening, but you apply force to this crystal, which could be physical force, or it could be heat, some other kind of force like the heat from our body. And then all of a sudden we get all the negative charges on one side and all the positive charges on the other side. And this gets transmitted into our, back into our body. And the light on the top here then shows the pyroelectricity model, where here, think of the candle, this is the light of our body, and it goes up to the patch, which is like the battery. And then the battery, when it gets stimulated by the heat, it creates light. And here we go. So, so the light still has to get into the body, and so we need to think. We will be learning about how the light and energy will move through the body, and two ways. It is known that the crystals will stimulate specific acupuncture points and improve the flow of energy without the use of needles. And so that's established. And what I didn't realize was that crystals, and the LIfeWave patches in particular, will improve the connectivity of the connective tissue. Now, connective tissue, that's like your arm, right? So, I mean, I had never thought of my arm as a communication system, but it really is. The collagen in the arm and other parts of the body is like a little energy pumps that move energy from one place to another. In particular, can take the light from the patch and move it around the body. So we'll again learn more about this. I was quite impressed, very exciting. So we just talked a little bit about the connective tissue. You all know about the nervous system. That's what we all hear about. So we'll be talking more about that with specific patches, but I won't say anything more about here. I'll mention the meridians because that is they've been used, of course, in Chinese medicine like forever, but it's also important to know that they have been measured by thermatic devices and electronic devices and radioactive assays. So they are well-established pathways through which energy moves. And what was new to me are these things called Bohan ducts. And I'll show you a picture on the next slide, but they were discovered by a Korean, and then the biophysicists have taken up research on these ducts, and there are a group of them who believe that they are the physical component of the acupuncture meridian system, that this is and I'll show you a picture, this is what, where the energy is, what the energy is flowing through when you get a acupuncture needle put in you. So here's the picture. Here on the left, we have a lymph duct, which is just the normal staining for lymph ducts. So if you do things traditionally, this is what you see when you open up a lymph duct. But on the right here, it's stained in a different way. And you can see this red line inside the lymph duct, and that is the Bohan duct. And you get a cross section of it here. You have the lymphocyte, the lymph duct, the perimeter of it out here on the side in purple, and in the inside you have this Bohan duct. And it's been established, these are pictures that these Bohan ducts create a web, and they circulate and kind of a netting around all of our organs and tissues. And this is a huge communication system and energy transfer system throughout our body, which I didn't have a clue about until I started researching this. So we'll see more about that. Now, thinking of that in your mind, down here in the pink is a little picture of epithelial tissue, which of course is, you think of it as your skin, but it's also the tissue that surrounds your organs and protects them from damage and regulates what gets into them and what gets out of them. And we have the Aloe vera patch, which is designed to keep all this epithelial tissue healthy. And it is very important as that it be healthy so that all this communication can occur throughout the body, and so that all your organs and everything work well. Now the product is actually being marketed as a beauty product. You can get it with some lotions for night and for day that were designed by a chemist from Estee Lauder. So they're very lovely. But I like to focus on the fact that it's much more than that, that the epithelial cells are all over your body, and it's helping them everywhere. There are 3 patches that are called Yage patches. Now, I'm pretty dense. I saw that Yage on the patches when I got them for some time before I ever said it out loud. And I had to say it out loud before I understood that it's like, why age? So these are 3 patches that are just little gems in terms of anti-aging. We have glutathione, carnosine, and eon. And as you might guess, the glutathione patch is designed to increase glutathione, the carnosine, I'll give you a word or two about what those are. And the eon, well, that's a surprise. I'll tell you in a minute. So glutathione is the body's master antioxidant, supports the immune system, and it is really a big deal. So it is the biggest, most important antioxidant in the body. And what does an antioxidant do? Well, here's this little scheme. These are little negative charges. It gives away negative charges, and it gives them away to free radicals that that are missing them. So the free radicals have these negative charges just loose in the body, and they're, running around the blood cells and every place they can get, just causing all this electrical disturbance and havoc. And so the antioxidant comes along, gives it a negative charge, and then it's neutralized. Well, the thing about glutathione is it can do this over and over and over again. It just goes back to the liver and fills itself up with free radicals again to give away. And that's different. That's very different for it, say, from vitamin C and vitamin E, which is once they've done their thing, they're gone. And you don't want you want antioxidants. You don't want a lot of free radicals, because if you have too many, you end up with inflammation and tissue injury. So we'll discuss this process more carefully when we have our talk on glutathione. Now, carnosine's just a really tiny little dipeptide. It's a small little molecule, so small that it can get through the brain, the blood-brain barrier. So it is actually, first, it works with the bioelectrical properties, like with your myelin sheath and with nerves, et cetera, in terms of healing, but it can do this inside the brain as well as throughout your nervous system, throughout the body. And it's got that for a very special niche. Now, the Eon patch isn't named after a chemical, and so I was really interesting to find out that it targets the queen bee peptide. Okay, wow, the queen bee peptide. That's the peptide that makes the queen bee. So she lives practically forever compared to the other bees. And all the worker bees come and go and do her bidding, and she lives on. So it took me a while to actually find the chemical name of the queen bee peptide. It took me longer to find any references of this peptide being in humans, but it's really fascinating, and I look forward to telling you this story more completely. There are 3 patches now I'll cover, which deal with mood, cravings, and sleep. So mood, well, this patch, the Nirvana patch, is sold as to improve your mood, antidepressant. It deals with hormonal levels, and it I've heard some great stories about how it works. We'll talk more about the biology when we get to it, but it's really, again, one where the marketing is targeted much more narrowly than what the patch is actually what it will do given what it is targeting in the body. So we'll come back to that. SP6, this is actually named after an acupuncture site, and it addresses cravings in the body. So it's marketed as a weight loss program, but it is also relevant with respect to stopping smoking, or eating too much chocolate, or whatever it is you're doing that that you think you're doing to an unhealthy extent. So sleep. Everybody knows you got to get sleep if you're going to be healthy. And so when I gave a talk last year on the silent night patches, and I had not learned what they actually were designed to do. And so I investigated, all the kinds of things that are involved with your getting a good night's sleep. Since then, I've learned, much to my surprise, that this patch is actually registered as a homeopathic. Again, the cures like philosophy, And I found this whole list of homeopathic cures that are the vibrations of which will be stimulated when, when the heat from your body hits the patch. The vibrations from these things will then be sent back into your body. And so when we talk about the silent night patch now, we can talk about what all of these components are expected to do for you. And again, we can certainly testify to the good night's sleep we get. John likes this in particular. I have a story.
Yes, I do.
So last but not least for humans, we have the LIfeWave patch for pain, which was the second one that LIfeWave developed right after the energy patch. And it's the most fun to really use with people until really COVID came along. You go up to somebody that has sciatica or bad back or whatever, and within just a few seconds or minutes, took John longer for his back, which he'd had trouble virtually all his life. But for many, many people, the relief is very fast. And one concern that I had, it wasn't clear when I used it on my husband, and whether you're blocking some pain signal that your body really needs. It's really a good thing to have from your body. And of course, drugs and opioids block the brain signal to the body and cut off that signal from pain, the signal to have pain. The LIfeWave patch operates very differently. What it does is it changes the electrical resistance in the tissue around the pain site, because there was too much resistance. The electrical flow was slowed down in that area, and it's that lack of flow that the brain picks up and says, you got to tell this person to, that they're in pain because I'm hurting down there and I don't want them to hurt me anymore. And so what this does is actually change the site that's telling the brain about, that they should be pain. And in doing so, it creates an environment in which the stem cells can come in and start the healing process. So it's pretty incredible, and that's a story. And now really last but not least, AccuWave is the ice wave for horses, which is very popular in the rodeo community and other places where horses are loved and adored. And I should say that you can really put these patches on any animal. I use them on my cat, and she's doing great. So at 20. So this, just to close, we'll be seeing pictures for the different patches about different results from scientific studies. And here you just have the horse right and left side before and after patching. And in 10 minutes, you have this, this heat, the really inflamed heat from the poor horse. Purple is really like 28 degrees. Oh, that's sensitive. So about 84 degrees. You see in 10 minutes, the animal just really cools off. So it's pretty wonderful. And this disclaimer is to make it clear that the LIfeWave community and those of us who are distributors are not making medical claims, and that you should consult your own physician if you have any concerns about what is being proposed here. And I will thank you for coming, and I'll take questions. But I do hope to see you next Friday for our start on the series of talks that'll be patch specific. So thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you, Nancy. That was great. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to mention at the end too, we do this really out of our really love for other people, because we know that people go through pain, anxiety. You know, you saw what some of the patches addressed, and those are things that we experience either in ourselves and or with people around us. So this is really why we're here. This is our purpose, basically, to bring this information that Nancy so eloquently brought forward. But for some people do ask me, says, well, I'd like to share this with people, you know, and the thing about it is you can't get it on a shelf in a store, right? So what we'll do next is maybe show them how they can become a customer. And then if that leads to the next question, well, can I do this as a home-based business? Then we will say yes. And if you like training on that, how to start that, we'd be happy to help you. But this is really, this particular series is to really emphasize that health is really is all we have, really. If we don't have our health, we don't have much of a life. So these patches have changed my life. They've changed Nancy's and her husband's life, and many people that we've introduced these patches to. So that's really the core of what we're trying to do here. But if you do have questions, either get a hold of Nancy or me, anybody who introduces you to this company, and we'll be glad to help you in any way we can. So hey, Philip, how you doing? You got any questions?
John,